Hey y'all, I hope you're having a good day, and I want to talk to you today about this really cool app that I'm totally obsessed with, and literally no one is paying me to make this. This is not a product placement. I just really like this app, and I think if more people use it, then more people would be reading long-form journalism, and I want more people to read, so I'm going to tell you all about it. So the app is called Curio.io. And it's kind of similar to other audio news apps, except something that Curio has always prided itself on is that it's human narrators. Like they actually pay humans to read the articles instead of, I think like Apple News does like an AI voice. And, on your phone, you can press like listen to page and then it'll just read like an AI version of the text. But for a lot of people, they want to hear humans read stories. So Curio has always done that. They have a bunch of great publications like The Washington Post, The Economist, Fox. On your home feed, they'll normally show from publications you read a lot or things you haven't read yet or news stories they have on the app. You can check out editors' picks by category, by how long it is, gives you a little brief summary and a picture. Just like Netflix and other streaming platforms, you can pick up where you left off on different articles. They have a must listen section where you can see like what's most popular, what the editor-in-chief says is like their favorite one. Basically, it's like really cool, right? So they have all these different resources for you to connect with long-form journalism without having to pay the exorbitant price for those different newspapers, magazines, journals, etc. They even will do like cool series. Like they had this interesting series called If Trump Wins, where they brought all these different articles about what would happen if that would happen. And basically, this app was kind of the answer to, one, a much needed accessibility concern, but also a disruption in the space because recently the kind of big player, the big name in the space was Audm. Audm, you might remember, was this amazing service that basically did the same thing that we're talking about here. It was this amazing service that allowed you to listen to long-form journalism from The New Yorker, from The New York Times, from all these amazing publications in one centralized app. And then naturally, The New York Times bought this app, stripped it down and turned it into New York Times Audio. So a lot of Audm heads were like, this sucks. Now there is a lot to love about New York Times Audio, but I personally just I just don't want like a publication to be the main person in control of my news platform. I would rather have a news platform that has like a ton of different publications on it. So I gravitated towards Curio, which has been expanding, getting new money in seed rounds, and most recently has launched something called Rio, which is a separate app that they're going to integrate into the Curio app. And they are utilizing AI to essentially customize the news experience. So when you log into Rio, it's kind of like ChatGPT, like it's like, hello, great to see you again. Let's catch up on today's news. How can I help you today? So right now I'm like obsessed with chess. So I was like, create me an audio episode about chess. At first, I didn't know what I was saying, but then I reset it and I said, create an audio episode about chess players. This just launched, so there's going to be bugs and it's going to constantly update until they really figure it out. So then what this AI thing does is it goes through all of the different articles that they have, because the kind of mindset behind it is instead of ChatGPT, which is using all sorts of different internet sources, it's actually using articles that have been written by humans to give you the information. So if I'm saying, create me an article about chess, create me an episode about chess, it'll then look through and say, okay, which articles do we have about chess? This one from Washington Post, this one from Financial Times. And then it'll make me a custom episode, like a podcast episode to listen to, where I can listen to the human narrated articles, but there's an AI introduction, commentary, and conclusion, which basically summarizes the key points, which is like, today we're going to learn about this, and then which has a little break in between the two. And it's actually really cool. Now, one of the things that Curio has been saying over and over again is on August 21st, there's going to be a big change to Curio because we're going to be integrating Rio into the service. Now, I do remember when Rio beta came out like a while ago and it was like already in the Curio app and you could like ask it questions. And I think they were just testing out this idea, but then it launched as its own official app. And now there's like the even bigger launch where I think they're going to fully integrate it into Curio again. And I was personally worried about, okay, in this Rio app, which was what the screen is now, are we going to be able to still have access to all the publications? And the whole pitching of Rio is essentially that, yes, you'll still have access to all the publications. And now you'll also have the text that is like no longer paywalled, which is like kind of an upgrade. Now, the interface isn't exactly my favorite because you have to like ask for what you want instead of just being able to browse. So like, for example, if I wanted to see all the articles from The Atlantic, I couldn't just click on a button that's like the Atlantic picture and then see all the articles. I would have to go to show me the articles you have from The Atlantic, and then they would give me the most recent articles. But they do have this thing where if you ask for like the day's top headlines, which I imagine they'll keep, modifying more, it kind of gives you this like Instagram stories scrollable thing where it gives you like one major headline, a few articles about it, another major headline, a few articles about it. Another major headline, a few articles about it. I was still really feeling stories about chess, so I was like, let's listen to some stories about some chess champions. And then they made me this new episode with different articles that they hadn't included last time. Now, if you also click on the little buttons they have, so they basically have like button bubbles for all of the different things. So it could be like tech news, housing news, economics news, book news. It'll basically say like what's the biggest thing that happened today. And then it'll give you like different articles that you can listen to in full. And then it'll ask you, do you want me to make an episode about this where we can dive in more deeply? So then I was thinking, oh, this could be interesting for kind of like self-development stuff. Maybe what I could do is ask it like how to stop procrastinating. So I asked it how to stop procrastinating. And then it very quickly comes up with different articles that it's published in the past in its article, repertoire. And then it creates an episode about that. And then I asked how to not take criticism personally, and it did a similar thing. Now, the biggest change, I think, apart from the new AI interface, but I feel like they were already toying around with that, so it doesn't feel like that major because it's like they were already doing it. But the biggest change, I think, is that now instead of just having access to the audio, you have the full article text as well. No, it's no longer paywalled, it's just free. So if I want to read along, like physically read as I'm listening, I now have access to that article, even if I don't subscribe to the Washington Post. And also right now, this service is free for the next 3 months while they're rolling it out. So like, I also have access to this service for free while they're, launching it to all these people. I feel like this is the biggest game changer because one of the things that I really liked about Autumn that I can no longer do with a lot of these news apps is as I was listening to the human narration of the story, the text of the article would scroll along the page because sometimes you want to like highlight something, you want to screenshot something, you want to send it to someone, you don't just want the audio file. So it has addressed that need. And it still does put human narration at the center. So it's kind of like merging human and AI. So it's using AI to organize and to be the news anchor, essentially. But all of the articles are written by humans and it's sourcing from all the different partnerships. And they also like all of these companies and people have agreed to this. So it's like supposedly very ethical. Bill Gates, in his most recent Gates notes, said that if you want to know what the future of AI is going to look like and how we're going to be interfacing with computers, that Rio AI and Curio AI is like a great way to learn what the interfacing experience will be like as computers continue to adopt AI into everything. Now, while a lot of these updates are super cool and I'm excited about it, especially because I'll essentially have more access to long form journalism, which is one of my favorite things, the thing I don't necessarily like is the way that they organize the like little bubbles. So on the bottom, you can see like there's little things you can click. So I could click that editor's pick and then it would enter that as a query as if I had typed that in the Ask Rio anything, and then it would respond kind of similar to ChatGPT. But what I prefer like to see the picture of the magazine, to click on the picture of the magazine, and then to have like all the articles with the photos. I don't necessarily want to like always ask the query. I don't want to like, if I want to listen to an article from Washington Post, I don't want to say like, show me the latest from Washington Post. I want to just like click Washington Post and then scroll through and see which articles interest me. So not having that feature anymore, I hope that they change that. But I do think integrating this as a feature, I hope this doesn't become like the whole interface. Apparently over the next week, we don't really know what it's going to do to the actual Curio app itself, because apparently the Curio app is going to have like a full overhaul with this existing kind of Rio stuff. I'm also not sure if Rio will continue to exist as a standalone app. What I'm really hoping though is that this is just like a tab on Curio. So like if you do have a specific question, then it's really helpful. Or if you do want to ask a specific query or want a like podcast type of episode with human narrated articles, that you can very easily get that, but that the rest of the Curio experience looks the same. So I guess I'll report back on that because I've been a Curio member for a long time and my app still isn't updated, and I reached out to Curio and they said that it's going to take a few days for the formal update to happen. But if you're a Curio member, you can log into Rio for free. And I believe Curio and Rio are also like free for the next 3 months. So hop on that. Anywho, I hope this was interesting to you. If you are a fellow fan of long form journalism, I would love to know like what your favorite sources are. I think that New York Times Audio is pretty good. The New Yorker app is pretty good, but it's just so expensive. And so I feel like this is a really cost-effective alternative way to get long-form journalism without having to spend like hundreds of dollars for an overall, magazine fee. New York Times audio isn't that expensive, but like the New York Times subscription or the New Yorker subscription is what I'm saying. Anyways, I'm running out of time, so hope this is interesting. Can't wait to hear from you. Bye.